Hello, good afternoon everybody, and welcome to another Art for All group. Today I'd like to share with you the work of an artist whose work is actually going to be on show in a gallery. And I'm not sure if some of you are aware, but whilst museums won't be able to open up until May, commercial galleries, and these include the Saatchi Gallery and the White Cube Gallery in London and a number of others, are actually going to be opening up for timed visit slots. Some of them are free, some of them are not free, from the 12th of April. So just to let everybody know that actually there are some galleries that are going to be opening soon. They obviously have social distancing in place, but that it's happening and that things are opening back up again. So I thought I would celebrate this with the work of an artist who's going to be featured at the Scottish Gallery. Obviously that's in Scotland. St Christopher's Hospice is based in London, but for anybody who's further afield, if they wanted to go and take in the work on show. So the work is by an artist called Joan Eardley, and she was actually born a century ago in 1921. She was born in Sussex, but moved to Glasgow and studied at the Glasgow School of Art. And she worked in a number of different styles over her life, but she worked sort of between portraiture and sort of epic landscapes, and I think all of her work could maybe be described as epic. And she found subjects in the shipyards of the Clydebank in Glasgow and the slums of Townhead. And she first of all went to the rundown tenements and buildings, and later she's painted the children and street life around Rotten Row. And the character of the people and the place became the vital subject of her work. And in the 50s, Joan started painting in the fishing village of Catalin in the northeast of Scotland, and she made use of these two really contrasting localities, and she created an epic vision of the world from no more than two streets and one small fishing hamlet. And the slums of Townhead are no more, but they're kind of memorialised in her vision and the spirit of the people invested in its children captured. And Joan often worked from photographs. So she would take photographs and take them back to her studio of the children, of the buildings that she saw. And it might be something that people might want to consider in their own artwork. It can be very difficult to paint en plein air, outside, in a moment, but actually having a photograph, working from a photograph, I think we're told that we shouldn't do that, but actually to use whatever makes your painting or drawing possible, and to work from a photograph can create a very different image from the image that we would paint if we were there in the moment, and a photograph can capture a moment. So here we have the Macaulay Children, and you can see here the paintwork is very, I suppose a little bit choppy, but you can almost feel the movement of the children as they're sitting and they're watching us very intently, but you can see they might be slightly squirming as they're moving. And these are all children from one family. So this is some of her slightly earlier work in the 50s. This is from the final year of her life in 1963, so two children. And she's also used the background of where the children might be. You can see the metal scrap and some of the typography. She's used some collage in there as well. You can see these children, one's sucking their thumb, they're sort of playing in the street, and they seem to be just suddenly turning to look at her. And there's this kind of immediacy with Joan Eardley's work. And this is an earlier painting again, so from 1949. So they're children playing on the street and reading the paper and kind of just sitting in a moment. And with this, I suppose they're much less aware of her, and maybe it was something that happened in her work as she went on. The children there was maybe more of a connection and more of an awareness that she was going to be painting them. She'd maybe become part of the scenery, and rather than just studying them from afar, she was part of their lives. And this is called The Wave, and it was painted in 1961. So these two really different feelings of the enclosed type portraits of the slums of Glasgow and this huge, expansive almost dreamlike scenes from Catalan and the northeast of Scotland. And you can see the kind of, it's almost like Turner working in the weather. And here she did paint outside. And you can see she's all wrapped up against the elements. It's quite cold in northern Scotland. And again, Boats on the Shore would have been painted in about 1963 when she would have been unwell. So she died aged 42 of breast cancer, and she was painting right up until the end of her life. She often had to paint the flowers that she was brought by her friends, and these wouldn't have been the subject that she would have chosen. I think she would have preferred the epic subjects that she painted previously, but she worked with what she had, and her legacy remains in hundreds of paintings that really document two very different sides of life at the time and in Scotland. So thank you very much for joining today, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. All the best. Bye bye.